Today we're at the White Light studio based in the Science Museum in London.
We've all come together to work on a big virtual production project. We're going to take one of our BBC green screen programmes, Apparat, a film review show. We're going to try making that in a virtual production setting with large LED walls and LED floor. Virtual production has been well established in film and single camera production, but what we're really interested in exploring is the multi-camera element where we switch between the cameras seamlessly and then the background instantly matches the camera that we've selected.
At EBU, we want to understand the implication of using LED walls in virtual production for, let's say, live events. And with BBC News, Sony and White Light, we started the preparation for this pilot.
The goal of today is to test our multi-camera live switching solution for virtual production in order to show that we can create more content, better content in the existing studio space. We were doing this using HTC 5500 and F5500 global shutter cameras, so off-the-shelf equipment. And we are using the XVS G1, which is the core part of connecting the cameras with the LED wall. Sony is in the unique position to create cameras, switches, monitors, and even LED walls. And that means we can control the whole color pipeline, creating an easier, better virtual production solution.
Today we were cutting between 3 cameras, one positioned to the left of the set, one to the right, and then a third centrally positioned but on a jimmy jib, which gave us a lot more fluid movements and gave us some really nice wider shots. We were shooting it completely live with a combination of studio guests and DTL guests, and I found the switcher very quick, very sharp. When I cut between shots, the background was switching perfectly with my camera cuts. When you're watching our output monitor, there was no delay in latency whatsoever, which was fantastic and gave the feeling that you were cutting as if you were in a real studio.
One of the issues that we are facing with LED backwalls is the so-called moire effect.
Moire is an issue that you will encounter when you're dealing with high-resolution digital sensors, looking at high-resolution digital screens. So there is no physical way to avoid it, but what you need to do is manage that really closely. One of the tools that we provided as Sony is a virtual HDC camera and a virtual lens combination. We created a quite advanced floor map of this studio with essentially a heat map of moire to make sure that our creative ideas are also physically and technically possible.
It was really impressive to see how close the finished product was to the pre-visualizations that we did with the Sony team. We got a really good feel for the geography and the geometry of our shots, where objects would be in our virtual set in relation to the presenters. We could position screens in between people and put down the line guests in those screens. It has allowed us to enhance the colours and the textures in our scene before even getting onto the LED stage. We knew where to position the cameras, we knew what lenses to use, and it all worked very well.
When you're looking into the viewfinder, you wouldn't know that you're not looking at a real set. But if you look over the top of the camera, you can very often see the images bleeding into each other. Each camera is seeing its own backdrop in real time, and just by hitting the return button, your viewfinder doesn't see the blue lines associated with the other cameras. You're good to go again.
The challenge you have for multi-camera virtual production is that you are pointing with 3, 4 or more cameras at one screen. That means the so-called inner frustum, that's the area that the camera is pointing at and that the Unreal Engine is creating, is actually overlapping between the cameras. So what we are doing is compositing the return video for the camera operator to see what their image will be. In the gallery, you have the similar issue because you will see the overlapping frustrums. So what we are using here is again the Unreal Engine to create an image close to what you would see if this camera is on program.
The finished product looked really natural because we were able to light in a much more creative way, and not in a way that where we were worried about getting clean chroma keys. We were able to light for mood and feel and to create a nice atmosphere in our virtual scene. When I was in the gallery watching the programme being produced, I was just really impressed with the way our studio team, our directors, our camera crew, our lighting people just took so naturally to the setup. It was almost like people forgot that they were working in a virtual production environment. The cameras largely work the same as they do in a normal TV studio. The director is sitting in front of a very familiar bit of equipment, a Sony Vision switcher that has been involved in broadcasting for decades. The monitoring is exactly the same. Really, it operated and functioned like a normal TV studio.
The experience which we had today was really good, and it gives you the atmosphere, the feeling of any location which we are going and working in.
The 4K HDR images looked glossy, it looked rich, the colours were beautiful. We were really impressed with the outcome.
Working with Sony on this project has been great. Great collaboration, great support. I think we will see different public service broadcasting adopting, exploring this type of technologies very soon.